Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. Romans and I are both money guys, but we're also gamers, so we wanted to put this pod together to help gamers like us with some of their tough money topics that can sometimes feel as hard as a Souls boss.
We're talking budgeting, saving, paying off debt, and how to not fall for all the traps life throws at you.
Grab a health potion and let's start stacking gold IRL. This is DLC, a finance podcast for gamers. Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a financial podcast for gamers. I'm Scruffy, this is Romans, and we are here on episode 2. We officially made it. We are not a one-episode podcast. Today we're going to be talking about credit cards, and our episode title is Status Effect, the true cost of carrying a balance. And I know this is something that really is important to Romans and myself. I know when I first got started in finance, I really saw the effect that debt, and especially credit card debt, could have on people. And it's something I think is really, really important to know about and know how to tackle.
Yeah, I think that for me, imagine I'm getting a business degree, 2 of them, in fact, and I graduated with credit card debt. Like, obviously, I'm a second generation immigrant, so there wasn't really anyone there to coach me or tell me how bad credit card debt was, but I managed to graduate top of my class, scholarships fully paid for, and I still graduated with around 60,000 in debt when I finished with my master's. And I graduated with a business degree. I can't say that enough. I totally get it if you graduate with a journalism degree, or I don't know, science, some kind of science or other degree, but I'm in business and I didn't know how credit cards worked until I started in my tax program. Actually, it was when I started taxes. I'm like, wait, this is terrible. And I'm already like 45, 50 in, and I couldn't stop. You can't just stop. That was my. So anything to do with credit cards and interest rates is definitely a sore spot with me. Definitely, we'll see how time goes on, but I'm definitely not a fan of credit cards. Not as hardcore as Dave Ramsey with the no credit card rule, but I'm definitely when I see a credit card, or if someone says they're paying any interest on a credit card, I'm like leaping like a prey on an animal, or a, is it prey? What's the animal? What's the one that stalks prey? I'm
The
the
Predator?
yeah.
Romans is the Predator
That's
from
right.
the Predator.
Yeah, I'm the prey that tackles the prey. Wait, what? Anyways, all right. So first
Romans
question.
has his thermal vision to scan for anyone with credit card debt.
That's right. I have the dreads. I'm in the trees. You better be covered in mud. I'm coming for you. Because that's how science works.
Yes.
First question. Let's flip it. Scruffy, what have you been up to lately? What have you been up to in the past week?
Yeah. For me, just been moving in. I recently bought a house, so I've been moving my setup over to the new place, so that's been good. Finally, just today, got my PC all set up so I can get back to gaming. I know last week I mentioned Expedition 33. I actually bought it, and I'm getting ready to start that. Really looking forward to it. I have been playing Octopath Traveler 2, but it's starting to get a little dry. Any of you who have played a Square Enix game know they can drag a little bit, so I'm going to take a break from that and start playing Expedition 33. Hopefully that'll be pretty fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Man, you play really smart video games. I thought you were just a guy who just like click heads in Marvel Rivals. Those are both thinky
Well, I
games.
could do that too, but I like, so for me, I grew up playing like the first person, third person shooters. But as I, don't have quite as much time to game, I also like some more story driven games like RPGs, and I found that I actually really enjoy the turn-based combat in RPGs, so I like those kind of stuff to decompress. Yes, you're thinking, but it's not the real world, it's a different world, so I enjoy it. And from what I've seen, I've been watching some people stream Expedition 33. Shout out to P-Tony and Stratus, and they make it look a lot of fun. So
Yeah, there's something magical. I haven't played it, and I probably won't play it for another 10 years. But anyone out there who played Legend of Dragoon, there's something magical about when you combine turn-based with timed attacks and the ability to block damage. Oh man, there's very
mhm.
few games that dare to play with this mechanic, and I'll love it. The day I play that game, I'll probably be in my 50s because like my backlog of games is 100 deep, and I just refuse to buy anything new other than Monster Hunter Wild, which I'm still level 6 on, and it's been out like 3 months. But someday I'll finish. It's just hard to game when you have so much to do, right? To
Yeah.
get the church to know about the gaming world, there's no time to game. But I do love me some Marvel Rivals.
Yeah.
What have I been up to? I'm going on a cruise this weekend.
Ooh.
That's what's it's taking up all my time. I got to pack today. We leave in a couple days, and we like to go on cruises once a year. You know, we're here in Florida, so that's something you do in Florida. If you lived in another state, it's kind of a big to do. But here in Florida, it's just a little weekend getaway type situation. Royal Caribbean on the Utopia boat. So yeah, looking forward to having a great time. We usually go once a year. COVID killed it for quite a few years because why in the heck
Uh,
would you go on a boat with that going around?
yeah.
Whether it's the flu or worse than that, it's just not worth the. I don't want to. There's people stuck on the boat. There's probably people still on the boat today. And we were just like, no way. We like cruises, but we don't want to stay on it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I get that. I've actually never been on a cruise. I've heard like I've had family and friends that have gone and really enjoyed it, but I've never gone myself. I'd like to because I've heard they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's some
But
good ones out of your port too on your side of the coast. There's some really
really,
good. Yeah, because you get all the Mexico locations, which
hmm
the Caribbean's great and all, but I think the Mexican, the Cozumel type stuff, those locations, in my opinion, are a little bit better. I just think there's too many boats to hit the Caribbean, so I think it's literally run down by all the boats. Imagine,
uh,
imagine every day hundreds of people are dumped on your tiny little island versus Mexico's this giant land where when you dump a bunch of
hmm
tourists they get to spread out. But imagine dumping the same volume of people on a tiny little island. That's a lot of foot traffic, and it just literally
yeah,
they're literally stepping over that island. And so yeah, I think there's way
gets
cooler locations you're out your coast. So
yeah.
yeah.
It sounds like a really fun way to travel because I still have yet to be out of the country too. So I definitely would
Mhm.
like to do something like that sometime soon.
Yeah. No, well, there's seasons of life. I'm the season where
Yeah.
I've been all over the world, so it's not no longer those days of oh my goodness, I can't wait to see what's over that giant body of water. Once you do it a dozen or more times, you're like, yeah, I'm good. I like being home. I like I like sleeping in my bed. So the grass is always greener. I think you'll have a great time. Though I could not wait to see the lands that I've seen. So
hmm
I'd love to experience it through first person eyes, like first time eyes.
Yeah.
There's a certain magic when you do it for the first time. But you know how you
hmm
can do it? You could do it using credit cards. Isn't that a great way to
Oh
do
no.
it? Like even though you can't afford
Uh,
it with your bank account, just throw it all on credit cards. Like imagine,
that
imagine paying 20% more to go
yeah.
now. I
And not
yeah.
only paying 20% more now, paying 20% more for years after your trip. So you get to, every time you get a statement from your credit card, you get to remember, oh, that cruise to the Bahamas 3 years ago that I'm still paying for was so worth it.
Wow, that gets me so inspired. I'm so excited for today's episode. So, tell me more. Actually, why don't you tell me a credit card payoff hack? Get me free. Your story is terrible. I don't want to look at a cruise 3 years from now. I want to pay my credit card now. What kind of secrets can you share?
Yeah, I think paying off credit cards can be a big hurdle. It's really important to get on it now. And a hack I have. So first off, most people have heard, the only pay minimums and focus on paying off one at a time. That's not really a hack.
Mm.
But something that I have seen people do with some really great success is they will use one of their payments to pay all of their minimum payments for their credit card. Just focus on front loading, paying all the minimum payments on your card on that first paycheck that hits in the month. And then whatever you can save the second paycheck is bonus going towards paying off your credit card. So if because you've already paid off your, like required what you're supposed to pay for it. So as we hopefully you're doing your budget like we talked about last episode, and you can really focus in on using the funds from that second paycheck to go towards paying off that credit card quickly. So you don't necessarily have to think like you're going to put this giant payment down on your credit card at once. Spread it out a little bit, and I think you'll see that as you're using this method, you'll want to save more and more that second paycheck and be able to make bigger and bigger chunks on your credit card.
Very cool. Very cool hack. My hack is a lot simpler. Mine is just look at which ones have the highest interest rate. So whatever has the highest interest rate, just pay off that card. Because when you do the math, it doesn't matter a lot of people get fixed on the balance. I owe 30,000 at 10%, and I only owe 3,000 at 25%. So I'll pay the 10,000 first, and I just like it's not about how big the balance is; it's how big the interest rate is. Because if you do the math, that highest interest rate, even though it's a lesser amount, it's costing you. You're paying the difference between 10% and 25% is 15%. You're paying 15% more for every dollar in that higher bucket. Just pay that one off. It maybe it's not as exciting. Maybe it's something you bought a car with, but you bought a cool jacket that you bought at the mall, and the car just isn't well, it's actually be the reverse. But the jacket has a higher interest rate. Just pay off the jacket. I know you want to pay off your car because it's your car, but your jacket actually costs you more dollar for dollar. So just pay that off. And if you do
Yeah.
the math, you'll dig your way out of the hole further because every month you're wasting money on interest payments. Those interest payments are just absolutely burying you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I completely agree. It's super helpful, like Romans was saying, if you're in that scenario when you're paying an extra 15% in interest, the second that interest goes away, that frees up more dollars every single month for you to start making progress towards your next goal. So when you really can focus in on some of those higher interest rates, it allows your dollars that you're paying towards paying off your credit cards to go further because you are knocking out those credit cards that are really gashing you a lot and causing you to be paying a lot of money on interest. Because 25%, that may sound like a lot, but if you actually look at your credit card statement, there you probably have a card that is most likely higher than that. So even if you had just, borrowed $1,000 on that, that's $250 instantly going away in credit card, or sorry, $250 dollars instantly going away in interest,
Mm,
instantaneously.
true.
So really important to get on those high interest rates quickly. So I completely agree with that. So anything else you wanted to talk about, Romans, about credit card debt or interest rates before we start getting into some questions?
I think the only thing I'd say is don't do it for the T-shirt. I don't know if that's still a thing, but man, you could get a really cool T-shirt or the Home Depot. You're there to buy some screws and like, hey, would you like to get a Home Depot credit card? And I love Home Depot. I'm there all the time doing DIY projects, but I'll always tell
Mhm.
them no. Uh, and sometimes it's tempting. Sometimes you have to buy $500 worth of stuff, and they almost got me. But I can't. If you are in any form of debt, getting new credit cards is probably the worst thing you could do. You have to dig your way out, little by little, step by step, day by day. Be methodical. It's kind of like weight loss, which have been a lifelong struggle for me personally. It's so much discipline. Food is fuel, money is fuel. Money and things are not the justification of life. You have to find a way to just use it as a tool and not make it be what identifies you. So that's all I can say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I think if you're going to be having credit cards, keep it to a couple credit cards that have specific purposes. When you start having a wallet full of credit cards, it's really easy to start losing track of things and potentially let things get unpaid. I know someone who, funny you mentioned Home Depot, had a Home Depot credit card that they forgot about. They went once, and I think they bought, a couple $100 worth of stuff. And I think it was months later, they checked back, and the interest had just piled up because they forgot they had that credit card because it was a one-time purchase that they convinced them to get that credit card and put the purchase on there, and then it just stacked up.
Yeah, it's tough. It'll bury you. Don't do it.
Don't do it. So be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of being intentional, we have some questions people have about paying off credit cards. So the first question we have is actually exactly relating to Roman's topic. It's, should I pay off the credit card with the highest interest rate first or pay it off with the lowest balance? So I've heard this is kind of the two philosophies, right? There's the Dave Ramsey of pay off the lowest balance first, so you knock off the debts fastest, versus paying off the highest interest. For me, I definitely am on the highest interest side because of the impact that it does for each dollar that you're paying off. Because that's less interest that you're paying, more money in your pocket to actually help you instead of hurting you.
That's funny. We're like on this consistent Dave Ramsey. We're the opposite of Dave Ramsey. Oh no. My wife loves Dave Ramsey. She listens to that podcast. I guarantee you, no matter how good we get, she'll listen to that podcast before she listens to this one. But well, she listens to me every day, so there's a little bit of buyer beware. But that's so funny. I didn't know that's how his style was. I guess sometimes you have to feel the win, even if it doesn't mathematically make sense. But
Yeah,
I could see it. You got to build that momentum, feel the win, know that credit card's dead, and stop using it. I could totally see why he says it, but I definitely,
yeah,
man, I paying off the higher one just matters more to me. So
yeah.
I'll stick to my answer. Same answer, please.
Yeah, I agree. I also grew up listening to Dave Ramsey because I was homeschooled and I took a Dave Ramsey course when I was in high school, and that's actually first what got me into finance. And then the more I learned, the more I'm like, okay, this is great advice for the broad public, but there's some nuances that people need to get with their specific financial plans. But yeah. I
Yeah.
still love Dave Ramsey. I listen to him more for entertainment now because I feel like as the show's gotten older, he's gotten more and more grouchy and it's become more and more entertaining.
Yeah, that's probably why my wife likes watching it. Just seeing what how he rips people. I think she does. She makes me watch clips where she's like, "What are you doing, dummy?" or something like that. I'm like, "Oh
Yeah.
God, that's so yikers! That's so funny."
So
All right.
submit your questions to the DLC podcast so we can call you a dummy on our podcast.
Wow. I don't know if that's gonna work, but okay, yeah, sure,
Yeah.
do it.
We won't do that. We'll help you and not call you names like Dave Ramsey. Next question. Can I negotiate my credit card debt with a lender? This is a fantastic question. I'd love to get into this. So, this is something that is probably going to be more for a question for people who have had their debt for a long time. What credit cards will often do is if your credit card debt has been sitting there for a long time, they haven't been getting paid, a lot of times they will sell it to either another credit card or a collector. And those are the people who will be constantly sending you stuff in the mail, constantly calling you, and it can get really irritating really fast. But this actually can be a pretty good thing for you because once your debt has gone to a collector, chances are they probably paid 5 to 10 cents on the dollar for that debt. So if you are able to kind of build up some money, a lot of times you can negotiate with them a much lower rate than what your debt actually is. So say you had a $5,000 debt that went into collections, and they're hounding you about it and saying, "Hey, we need you to pay all this back now." When you do your budget, pile up some cash, and maybe you have $1,000, $2,000 sitting there, I would probably say save up $1,000, call them and say, hey, I can't pay off the $5,000, but I have $1,000 sitting here right now that I can give you today if you are willing to have my debt be paid in full. Now remember, these companies are only paying, 5 to 10 cents on the dollar for this debt. So if you have a $5,000 credit card that they paid $500 for, and you offer them $1,000, they're not going to accept it right away, but that is already 100% return for them. So, because of that, a lot of times they'll be more willing to negotiate. Now, with an existing credit card that you have that you are actively paying on, those companies are going to be much less likely to settle with you. But the way to do it is if you have something that you're looking to settle, don't try to negotiate on a different payment. Spend some time budgeting your money, piling up some cash so that you can make that transfer. And here's the really important thing. If you do go with this technique, make sure that whenever you pay it, that you get everything set as paid in full. Because otherwise they can still come back and say, hey, you still owe us money.
Wow. So I didn't know you could negotiate. That sounds like a really good way. Getting that, but how do you know you're gonna get the payment in full? Do you have to make sure you get it? You pay it first and then demand a
No.
letter?
Yeah, so what you're doing is when you're on the phone with whoever it is at the collections agency, you will say, I'm willing to give you this money if it is paid in full. And then do not pay them until you get a letter from them that says, we will accept this amount of money as payment in full for this debt.
Ah, got it. So it's like a payoff letter. You have to
Yeah,
request a payoff letter.
yeah.
Okay, and then you pay it. So this is a really critical step because I think you could get bamboozled then, right? If you're not
I've
careful.
known of some people, yeah, they'll get someone orally over the phone say, yeah, we'll take that. They get excited, make the payment, and they're like, great, we took your payment. You still owe the other $5,000, um, or the other $4,000. And they will say, no, someone agreed to me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that person doesn't work here anymore. They have no right to do any of that.
Whoa.
So that is an actual story of something that happened to someone I knew. I don't know if that person did work there still or not, if they lied, whatever, but they ended up still having to pay the debt.
Yikes. Yikes.
So, yeah. So it is something you can do. You just have to be aggressive about it. So,
Yeah.
right. Next question. Is debt consolidation a good idea? Romans, you want to take this first?
I've never actually done debt consolidation. I know that it can take a ding. What I do know about is I'm pretty sure it dings your credit card score in
It
doing
does.
so. I think it's better than a bankruptcy because a bankruptcy can have lasting up to 7 years of impact on you. So I really think if it's enough debt, it could be an idea, but I wouldn't do it for something less than 10 grand. I think under 10 grand. Oh, it really depends on your. Maybe a better answer is depends on your repayment window. How long is it going to
Hmm.
take you to pay off that debt? Because for some folks, 10,000 could take 10 years. For other folks, it'll only take a couple years. And so it's all relative to how much time matters to you and really where your income's coming from. If you're gonna try and close on a home soon, that can really hurt your chances with that. But I can't see it. I don't see why not doing it. I would say definitely consider it. It's hard when you don't know someone's personal situation. It'd be great if someone were to give a specific scenario. But I'd be open to it. I wouldn't just outright say no every time.
Yeah. I agree that it depends on the situation. I think where debt consolidation usually makes the most sense is when you're able to take some of these higher interest credit cards and consolidate them into a single debt that has a lower interest rate. Because if you're able to take a couple cards that are at like that 25, 30 interest rate and consolidate them down to like a 15, 18%, you can end up saving a lot of money on interest. it is important to consider the impact that it can have on your credit, like Romans was saying. If you're going forward to, make a purchase for a house or something like that, it would make sense to potentially wait to do something like that. But the thing that would lean me more towards debt consolidation would be if you're able to get some of these really high interest rates at a lower rate, that's when it makes sense. If you're
Mm.
consolidating everything from a similar interest rate just into one place, it can sometimes be more simple because you're only paying in one area. But a lot of times, if you're not knocking out any interest payments because you're going to a lower rate, you're just paying for a consolidation into one place for convenience and not actually getting any mathematical benefit as if you were
Oof.
just paying off all of those debts where they existed before. You don't necessarily want to just be shifting things around into one place just to continue all the same exact habits you were before. So if you're being intentional, you started budgeting and really started paying off debt, if you can lower your interest rate, it makes sense. If you aren't having a problem with paying off your cards or paying your cards as it is, I would probably maybe steer away from consolidation.
Cool. Yeah, it all comes down to the math again, right? Just check the math. Don't just parking it all in the same place and paying fees just to park it all in one place doesn't really. Where's the value? Where's
Yeah.
the savings? Where's the time saves? So great
And if
point.
you have a specific question for you, feel free to reach out to me. Like I said in the first episode, I'm going to have my Discord and email in the show notes. So if you have a specific question for your scenario where we could maybe give you a little bit more specific advice, be happy to answer any questions there.
Nice. Too kind. Too kind.
Next question. How do I stop using my credit cards while I pay them off?
Ooh, I feel.
This is an important question,
Is it? I feel
Nicholas.
like this is like an easy question, right? Just stop. Just stop doing that, right? Like,
Yeah, I
just.
feel like the answer is easy. The execution is where it's difficult.
Yes, I agree. I agree. It was a trick. It's a trick response by me. I didn't actually mean it, but the
Yeah,
actual answer is just stop, right?
yeah,
Like how do I lose weight? Stop putting everything that looks like food in your face. Like there's got to be a way to just stop, but it's hard. It's hard to just stop. But I'll
yeah,
give you my answer. That my answer is having a budget and committing to it. Like that would be my quick answer. Like you, if you're alone, then it's just you got to agree. If you have a spouse, I've seen it where one spouse, one of the two adheres to it and the other one still breaks the rules. And I just think that's how you have conflict in your marriage and you're just causing fights. I think you have to both agree. And I think the problem is both of you didn't agree to do it. Right?
yeah,
I've seen it where only the husband will agree or only the wife will agree. And you both have to agree. Like there's no point if one person obeys and the other one disobeys. You would hope it's 50%, but sometimes the other person will do things that they think you would want to do. I think you want Chipotle because I'm getting Chipotle, so I bought Chipotle for both of us. And and you're under a no Chipotle rule, or it's a week where it's all home lunch. There's just so much to being on the same page to make it work. But my answer, budget, stick to it. What do you think? What would
yeah.
you do?
Yeah, budgeting's a big part of it. I would say go ahead and start putting your credit cards in a place where you don't have easy access to them. If you have your credit card linked to Amazon, maybe take it off. If you know that's something that you struggle with, take your card off of Amazon, take your card off of Steam. If you know that a new game release is coming out that you really, really want to buy and don't have the budget for it right now, take your card off Steam for a little bit until you can save up the money or put a debit card on it, something like that so that you're not tempted to make those purchases that got you into debt in the first place.
Good answer.
Yeah. So, next question we have is credit card counseling or debt management plans worth paying for? Hmm. So, I've seen people that have benefited from it, and then I've seen people um, that have paid money for a debt management plan and had no success from that. I personally would not recommend paying this because you're essentially paying someone to help you with some external discipline for your credit card payoff plan. And yes, having an accountability partner can be really helpful. Having someone who's holding your hand coming alongside of you can be helpful. But paying someone to do that for you is not a great idea. Um, Really, what this comes down to is just having the discipline to keep trying, keep on trying. Credit cards are like that boss at the end of the level that you just can't get. It's not about um, switching things up or whatever. You just have to keep trying until you get it. And paying someone to come alongside and build a debt management plan may seem like it's helpful, but the change is going to come when you are able to make the decision to suck it up and start making the effort to pay off the credit cards. A lot of times these are flashy things that may look like they help, but long term, the difference is not going to come from someone who has this special plan that's the one way to get you out of debt. It's going to come from you just deciding to do it.
Yeah, yeah, I have not experienced them in a way that would help, but I agree. I agree. If you, folks need I'll say this: some folks need accountability partner outside of their family. Some people just listen to strangers more than they listen to their own family and friends. And I think for those rare occasions, they should do it. Uh, but if you're someone who trusts your family and friends to actually look out for you, and you're not just doing it uh, to spite them, then yeah, easy one. Skip them.
Nice. All right. Next question. How long will it take me to pay off my debt? This is a great question because, first thing, you will never know unless you do a budget. If
Mm.
you, if you are trying to pay off debt, your budget is going to be a huge tool because it lets you know how long you have to work through this. Because when you sit down and you don't have a budget, you don't have a plan, you're signing up for a endless dungeon of torment where there's no light at the end of the tunnel. You don't know how you're going to get through this because there's no end time. There's no end in sight. So this is one of the reasons why, especially for paying off debt, it's really important to budget. Um, it's going to be different for every person because you have different levels of debt, you have different incomes. It's going to be, no answer is going to be the exact same. No plan's going to be able to guarantee that you have paid off your debt by the end of 2 years or whatever. But if you do want some help with like looking at how long it's going to take you to pay everything off, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to take a look at things with you and help you put together a timeline so you know what you're signing up for when you're going to start getting out of debt.
Yeah, there's definitely. I think most people don't like the answer to this question, right? I think the American way is I want it now,
Hmm.
and the real answer is it can take years,
Yeah.
maybe longer than years. It could take decades if you really buried yourself in a real hole, and there's no other solutions to speed it up. You could just marry rich if you're not married yet. That's a great strategy. Marry someone based on how wealthy they are, not on compatibility or future or equally yoked. Just how much money you got. You want to get married, and then do that. Of course, that's
Yeah,
not a
don't do
real
that.
answer, but
Don't listen to Romans.
that's not a real answer. But gold diggers, you exist out there, you guys. I'm not saying she's a gold digger. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Next question.
All
Next
right,
question. Next
moving
question.
on. Moving on. Last question. What happens if I can't make my payments anymore? This is a tough one. Um, yeah. If you're unable to, keep up with all of your payments, there's a couple of options. Probably the worst option, the last resort, is going to be bankruptcy. Um, if you can do everything you can to avoid that, that's going to be the best thing for you. Um, Most likely, what's going to happen before you have to go into bankruptcy, though, is those debts are going to start moving into collections, which goes back to kind of what I was talking about earlier about negotiating. Once things go into collections, you actually sometimes get a little bit more freedom because if something's in collections, when you have that opportunity to negotiate, what I do and then what I would recommend is just stop paying on those debts that are going into collections, pile up the cash so that you can start to negotiate and get those free and clear. If you're able to, be intentional and get to that point where you can start saving up cash and start knocking these out, you'll be able to see some progress that will keep you from having to go into bankruptcy. Another option is consolidation. If everything's, you can't make your payments because the interest rates are so high, moving into some consolidation at a lower interest rate may be able to help you. Um, but at that point, that's a really tough situation and something that I would definitely, if anyone has this specific situation, reach out to me. I'd be happy to sit down and talk about what are some things we could do to help make some progress so we're not here anymore.
And I think that that's probably one of the more critical things that you're willing to help people who are not in a wealthy position. I
Yeah.
think that's a difference maker. I think most folks are like, well, he'll only want to talk to me because he wants me to invest in some kind of stocks or bonds. But your heart is really there. You just want to help the fellow man out or woman to just dig out of debt. I do think that there's seasons in life, and this kind of question should be temporary in nature, unless you live in some small little town and there really is no opportunity to find work. But at least in America, especially considering I'm second generation, so we just came here with essentially nothing, and here we are on a brighter side. That you can, if you're willing to fight, at least in America, dig your way out. In other countries, I've seen it. There's outside of God, there's no way you're digging out. Unless outside of God sending some kind of wealthy person to come in to open doors for everyone, or some kind of trade route being opened, or just a miracle play happening. But the beautiful thing here in America, as long as you're able to work, maybe you have a health issue or something, there's reasons why in America, even though you live here, you can't dig yourself out. But I would say that's the exception, not the rule. Most folks, even when you're hit with this question, you're on a plan, you're on a budget, you're digging your way out. Someone gets really sick, something really happens, maybe a hurricane comes through, you have to pay the deductible, tornado, snowstorm, wherever you live in the world or in the U.S. There's all kinds of weather issues, and there's just bad things that happen to good people because we live in a fallen world. It's
Hmm.
usually temporary as long as you're willing to fight, and it's all about getting up when you get knocked down. That's the resiliency of humanity. We always the scariest person to encounter is the person in a corner, because the resiliency and the way you can dig out will always you'll always spawn a new answer as long as you're fighting to try.
Hmm.
And hopefully you have a support network. Hopefully you've been nice to other people and have family and friends. I think that there's a little bit of pride in this question sometimes for some folks, that there is a way. They do happen to have that one super rich friend who could buy them time, but they're afraid to ask. And that friend has actually even said to them, just let me know. I'll help you just once. You just got to say the word. And you're always waiting for that. I'll wait till I'm really, really in the hole. But if you wait too long, you can be in a bigger hole than where you were if you stopped the bleeding and could just buy yourself time. Maybe you're on a very strict plan, you lose your job, not maybe not through no fault of your own. Employers' needs change, or the economy downturns, or they made a mistake at the corporate level. And so there's rounds of layoffs, like in the gaming industry. There's been so many layoffs this past year. Even though this has been the last 2 years of some fantastic games, there's always this negative side that these topic for another day, these video game companies just shed everybody. They ship out the fantastic $1 million game, $1 billion game, and then they poop everybody out on the back end. It happens in other industries in a lot more mundane ways. A big project doesn't go as planned and they miss revenue projections and layoffs occur. But as long as you're not just a leech at some place and actually provide value to that employer, there'll always be someone else in America who needs you, unless you're the inventor of Polaroid film. And then no one really cares. But even that has a niche market. But just have a real skill that the world needs, and this should be temporary in nature. I hope.
Yeah.
Either way, call Scruffy.
Yeah, happy to help. I am here to do whatever I can to help get you out.
Cool.
So, yeah. Well, that wraps up all the questions we had today. Before we close out, I know, Romans, you had said you had a long list of games on your list. What's the next one for you?
Well, so I've been dying to play Monster Hunter Wild. Like, it's literally been my
Okay.
game for the past 2 or 3 years. None of my buddies bought it, punks. If any of you watch this podcast, because I know I'll make you, you're all to blame that I'm still Hunter rank level 6, because none of you bought it, and I don't have that drive to play it if no one's there waiting for me. Because it is a great game. The cool thing about Monster Hunter Wild is they release a great game, and then they keep supporting it. So I'm not in any rush because the new DLC comes in about 6 months or so. So as long as I'm ready before that DLC drops, which there's got to be a lull. In 6 months, ReachConf 2025 will have closed, and I will game like nobody's business right after that conference ends. So I should be ready before the DLC drops, which probably it'll drop during Christmas. So it'll be fine. I'll make it. Other than that, like all the games you mentioned, Octopath, that sounds like a great game. I saw one looked great, 2 looks good too. Yep. And so, in other news, I have the new Meta glasses on because I broke my glasses yesterday. And I think I just saw the audio pickup. I don't know if you heard. Did you hear it? Did you hear my
I
glasses?
heard something. I didn't hear what it said, but I heard it say something.
Okay, so my eyeglasses tells me when people text me, and I just got a text. I saw the audio pickup, so I'm kind of curious on the feedback. Maybe the editors will fix it or they'll leave it in. But I think it picked up my eyeglasses talking to me. And also, on this Rubik's Cube, I was trying to solve it. You know what I just realized? Solving it on camera, I have to solve it backwards. So, another flaw. Episode 2, flaws in the new podcast. I am not good enough to solve this backwards. I had to cheat and actually look at the cube. But I was able to solve it before the episode ends. So my goal every episode is to solve the cube before the episode ends. But I had to look at it because my brain was melting. If you really pay attention to this, if you look back and watch this, if you look closely, my brain is melting while I'm not solving it. There's about 10 solid minutes where I didn't realize I'm doing everything backwards. Like, why isn't it working? Where is the white square? Why is my brain could not comprehend it was all backwards the whole time. But we got there.
You got there. You got it done. Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. Sweet. Well, that's it for us today. Well, this was episode 2 of the DLC podcast. I'm Scruffy. This is Romans. And as you mentioned, please come to Reach, man. Reach was how I met Romans. Reach Conference 2024 was so much fun. I'm so excited to see what comes from the next Reach Conference this year. Romans, you want to plug anything about Reach before we head out?
I would say just pray for the speakers. I have quite the lineup, but like last year was this weird year where every door I knocked on, it opened. This year, they could still open, and we're still 6 months out. But man, I'm hoping some of the people I asked will say yes. I think this year could be crazy, and this year's it's 50% longer. We had 30 creators last year. This year we're projecting 100 to 200 content creators coming out.
Goodness.
So like everyone will be there. 500 to 1,000 people. Cosplayers will be we're pushing so hard on anime and cosplay this year. Hint, hint, and who I want to speak at the conference. I hope they listen to this podcast. So it's I like to dream big, but I like to work in reality. What we have planned and for sure happening. I'll give you one teaser just in case you hear this. We're going to have a 50 versus 50 sword battle We're our 50 Reach partners will choose. Oh gosh, no! Stop it! My eyeglasses are going. Oh god, it happened again. 50v50 sword battle. It's gonna be absolute shenanigans. That's just one thing, one iteration of so many planned events throughout 3 days. It's literally gonna be 3 days. I want people to end it and be like, I need to sleep. That was so much fun. That I want this to be the ultimate, absolute fun time, edifying, God edifying time. But I have some really fun shenanigans planned. So I know how to throw a party. You came last year. You saw it was a great time. Imagine
It was
fifty
great.
percent more of last year. That's what I'm hoping to
Yeah.
pull off.
Y'all are not ready, so come to Reach. Go to reachconf.org. Buy your tickets now. It's going to be so much fun. So that's it for us for the DLC podcast. This has been episode 2. Thank you all so much for listening, and be on the lookout to catch our next episodes. We are on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Feel free to subscribe on there. You'll automatically get alerted when a new podcast drops. Until then, we will see you later.